Hi, welcome back to Artist to Artist. I'm your host, Henry Blackman, and this is where artists come to showcase. Today I've got a really special guest today by the name of Jeanette Barnett. Really special artist. I know you're going to enjoy her today. And Jeanette, thank you so much for being on Artist to Artist.
Thank you for having me, Henry. I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. Let's start with your bio. You have a very, very interesting bio. You didn't start art, or at least get into art or start producing art until later on in life. But I want you to take us back to your early days, what you were doing earlier and how you came back to your passion.
All right. And I love to tell this story, Henry. So, But when I was a little girl, I always wanted to paint. But there was no influence around me. There was nothing that said, oh, you can paint. Said, you must be practical. There's nothing there. And I used to order these things that say you too can learn to paint, and it just never seemed to be anything. So I sort of just turned away from that because I said, obviously that's not for me. But I was very much interested in the arts, but my actual painting, it just didn't seem like it was a possibility. But I would look at art and I would admire it, but I went on to get a degree in business, and that's what I did for the last 30 years. I was a budget analyst at Georgia Tech for 30 years, and that raised a family and did all the things that a regular job does for anybody, But when I retired from Georgia Tech, I was looking for what next, but what would I really want to do, since this is part 2 or chapter 2.
Right.
So what would I really want to do? And I started taking classes at a senior center.
Okay.
But I saw that there were art classes. I thought, well, this is it. This is my chance to get here and see what can I do. And I did. I took an art class, and the first thing I did was a collage. Yes. And I was okay with that, but I thought, well, this is fine. But I told the instructor that the next thing I was going to do was a painting. It was going to be a painting. And the thing of it was, as soon as even though I didn't have very much experience, as soon as my hands touched the canvas with paint, there was something in me that said, this is it. This is home. Yeah. This is what you're to do. Yeah. It was the most gratifying feeling that I'd ever had for something that I enjoyed doing. And so that's how I started to paint. And it was just like a whole new world, but it was also like, lighting a candle within myself in terms of what I wanted to do and be. So that's how I started, and that's where I could paint. I wouldn't say 24 hours a day, but a lot of hours in a day because I love it. And it's my passion. Yes.
Fantastic. It sounds like, I know you have a big family. Was your family an influence in helping you pursue what your second?
Well, no, I have to say that my children are all grown. So I have 3 children, and they are all grown. So I can say, and that's the part they say. Well, we didn't know that you wanted to paint. Well, when you're raising 3 children, I was like, well, no. But it's my husband, Reverend Sidney Barnett, who has been, supportive of my doing the painting. Absolutely. And family and friends. So that's how, because a lot of times, as I said, I paint sometimes into the evening, and but he's really been very supportive of my painting. Yes.
Fantastic. Mm-hmm. So obviously that spiritual connection.
Yes.
I see.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah. Yeah. We have. It's important. To have someone who encourages you in this, so yes. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, it's really funny when you talk to most people when they're getting ready to retire or they're retiring, I'm going to just lay on the beach, I'm not going to do a thing, I'm not going to do this and that. And I just find it amazing, because a 30-year career,
Yes.
That's long. It's tiresome.
Yeah.
And I'm personally inspired that you know, wanted to, that, you know, that you had strength or you willed yourself to do something that you really wanted to do. And I certainly think you should be commended for that.
Thank you so much.
What was it like? Tell us what it was like to, you know, when you when you retired. It's like, okay, I've got this new thing going on, and you know, what was it like just getting up and getting into the art stores and just, you know, what did that look like?
That was like a kid in a candy store. That's what that was like.
Right.
Because, you know, when you're new, you don't really know what you need, but you think you need everything.
Right.
And so you know, in my studio, I've got canvases, I've got all sorts of brushes, I've got everything I need. So whenever I get an idea or whatever, I've got my equipment. So it was really, and just learning, you know, it was very exciting to really be learning something that you really wanted to learn.
Yes.
You know, I think that was the biggest thing for me, is that this is, I like to say this is what I'm choosing, but sometimes I feel like this is what has chosen me. And I feel very good about that. Right. So I mean, I can go to an art store, I can go to a catalog, and I have to be very, very careful because I do tend to order a lot of stuff.
I'm guilty too, guilty.
I order a lot, you know.
Right.
But it's as I said, I'm like a kid in a candy store, you know. So yes,
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So what were some of the biggest challenges? Was there any fear, you know, going into, you know, it was something that you always wanted to do, but now you're out there. Now you're purchasing things. You know, you're sitting down. You're in the studio. Was there any, you know, a tad bit of fear? You know, like, okay, I'm going to do this thing now. So, was there any, or did it just maybe it just? It
wasn't fear, because I felt that for the first time, this was something that, you know, if it didn't come out right, nobody was going to get mad except me. It wasn't for a check, you know, a paycheck, because even though I think any artist, you want to be paid for what you do or whatever, but I didn't have that constraint about, well, you know, if I don't sell a piece or whatever, you know, then I'm not going to be able to eat or anything like that.
It's a good thing about having a job, yeah.
Right. And sometimes I think maybe that's, you know, you think about the plans for your life, and you think about, well, maybe, you know, when I was being a parent or whatever, maybe, you know, maybe that was the best thing at that time, that I just gave 100% to that or to a job. But now, I wasn't afraid of anything like that. The only thing I was concerned with, what if I think I can do this, but what if it doesn't work out, you know, the way I thought? And then something says, it's working out. You don't have to worry about that. It's working out because you've carried a dream for all these years. So even if you're the only one who's happy with it, then you've really achieved something. Because when I look around and I see work that I've done, it's, to me, it's incredulous. It really is. It really is. So that's how I look at that. It wasn't the only thing I'm concerned. Sometimes it's like you want to paint so much and so many different things, and sometimes you say, well, maybe you might need to learn a little more of this or that before you can paint. But on the other hand, though, you can try. You know, you can really try. There's nothing to stop you from trying at this point. So that's where it is. Mm-hmm.
Have you felt any growth, or has being absorbed in art now, has it changed you in any way? Has it relaxed you, or just, you know, make you feel fuller? Or
well, to me it increases your awareness of a whole lot of things, because, you know, you look at life from, I say, maybe from an artist's point of view, but on the other hand, even at that, you look at people differently, you know, because, I mean, I can look at a person and I see a painting. I can look at a tree and I say, you know, I'd really like to paint that. So I think I have zeroed in on art in that sense. And I've met some people and I've seen the range of art, and, you know, it's a whole new world, really. You know, it's a whole new world. So.
Right. I know through art, I know with myself, one of the amazing things is meeting other artists like yourself. Are there any artists out there that you've met in the last few years or in your time since you've been submerged in art that have influenced you, or you know, who you've looked to, whether they be the masters from the past or somebody that you actually know now?
Well, I know quite a few because I'm a member of a certain group, and the AFTA, you know, African American for the Arts.
Yes.
And I've met all types of artists there, and I've seen, you know, different types of work and so forth. So, and sometimes, you know, I look at the work and I say, well, I'd like to do something like that, you know. And they've been very generous in sharing with what they know at AFTA. So I can say I'm really sort of influenced by a lot of them. I mean, some of them do cloth paintings, and some do, and you know, there's just a lot of different things that you learn in people. So I have to say, you know, I'm just right now. I feel that I'm still in a discovery phase, somewhat. You know, so that's that. Yes.
Fantastic. Going back, I want to go back again to when you were pursuing your business degree, and what was art still, you know, when you were taking those classes, when you're taking those tests, and you know, you start your career and everything, was it still, did you tune it out any, or was it still there and you're just thinking, okay, it's just a matter of time? How did that work for you?
I didn't even I didn't even think about it anymore in terms of a reality. It was like only when I retired, it was just like that can be something you can do now. You know, that could be something you can try.
Right.
But early on, it really was a matter of, you know, I'll say survival or responsibilities. You know, when you had certain responsibilities, there was. I didn't really see it as something that. But when I got back to retirement, it was just almost like it just came right up to the forefront then, because I really wanted it to be something that I wanted to do. You know, I really wanted that, and that's what it is for me. It is a full-fledged passion.
Yes.
Full-fledged.
So now that you're a full-time artist, is there anything that anything in the business world that you're taking from that experience, that 30-year career, that you might be bringing into your art now? Maybe like discipline. Sometimes it's really, really hard to be disciplined. Like, I'm going to spend a certain amount of time on doing this piece tonight or this evening or this weekend, and just being disciplined. I know when you're dealing with business that there's a discipline about it. There's scheduling going on. Is that a part of your creative experience?
Well, I find I allot so many hours per day. I try to allow at least 2 hours per day, you know, to art in terms of making sure I'm spending time on the canvas. At least 2 hours per day. That's the minimum. And if I'm working on something, I don't know, there's always that push to, I want to make sure I finish it.
Yes.
You know, so I don't like to have pieces that are undone or they're waiting. So in that way, I feel that I'm disciplined in that way. You know, art does have it is a priority because the other thing is, you know, in order to accomplish something, you have to put in the time.
Yes.
So you cannot think that, you know, it's going to happen without you.
Fantastic. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to talk to you after this show about that discipline. I need that kind of discipline myself.
Okay.
All right, guys, we're going to take a slight break, and we're going to come back with Jeanette. We're going to experience her artwork, and we will be back shortly with Artist to Artist. Welcome back to Artist to Artist. We've been having a wonderful conversation with artist Jeanette Barnett, and at this time, Jeanette is going to share her artwork with us. Jeanette? Okay.
The first piece I'd like to share with you is a piece called Showtime. And this piece is done with fabric paint, and also it's a mixed media piece, and we have the beads and everything, and in all of my work with women, and especially African American women, I always try to emphasize certain points. I emphasize hair or lips or whatever, because I feel that a lot of these features we really need to own and acknowledge, because these are ours. And in Showtime, we can see that these are beautiful women, and they're bejeweled. But also, I did this piece to recognize the contribution that we have made in the entertainment industry for a long, long time. So
Yes, indeed.
that's what this piece is all about. We're beautiful, we're contributing, and so forth. That's the first piece.
Fantastic. All right.
Now moving on, these two are companion pieces. And these pieces are a part of my history as growing up in Valdosta, in a small town, small church. My father was a minister,
Okay.
and these pieces emphasize the importance of the church in our lives, not just mine, but especially in small towns and in African communities, and also the idea that worship was a big part of everything, and praise was not anything to shy away from.
Right.
And this is big. So that's what this piece is all about. And this is basically this is acrylic and some other mixed media in it as well.
Okay,
but that's
mixed
what
media.
this piece is all about.
Okay, lovely. Awesome.
Okay, now moving on, the next piece is called Lady with a Story. Now this is one of the very first paintings that I did, and the painting that convinced me that yes, I am a painter, and that this is where I should concentrate. Now this piece is also a recognition of, in somewhat of an African ancestry, but also here again, I say Lady with a Story because we've come from a long, long way in this country,
Yes.
and this lady has so many stories that she could tell, and I really try to paint her so that when you see her, you see determination, you see beauty, and you just see someone who has made also a serious contribution to the history of the world, actually.
Yes.
That's what this piece is about. Okay.
Very, very bright colors.
Yes.
Love
thank you.
those. It's very, very powerful.
Thank you. Yeah, I love colors in my work. I do.
Awesome.
Okay. So, and my next piece, is A Boy in His World. Now, the reason I did this piece is because I feel that it really takes a lot for a boy to become a man,
Yes,
and
indeed.
especially boys in this part of the world. So this boy is, even though he's just kicking a ball, or he's really contemplating somewhat what his future is like or what his future will be. But it's also to say that we never know, but it does take a lot for a boy to become a man. And that's why it's basically a tribute to boys. That's
Yes.
basically what it is. It's a tribute to boys.
Wonderful tribute.
Thank you. So, and my next piece, moving on. My next piece is, I call this piece Miss Viola Davis. And the reason I did Viola Davis is, and when I do portraits of people, there's usually something about that person that I think is a lesson for all of us in a way. Now with Miss Davis, I think we can all remember seeing her for a long time on a lot of shows. And when we look at her now, it's as if she's all over the place.
She is.
Well, but she was all over the place before, but she was
Right.
not being recognized
recognized.
as being all over the place. But, you know, this piece is a tribute to her perseverance and her tenacity and also her beauty. I feel that she's a innately beautiful person, and this is basically what this is about. This is about tenacity in an industry that really is not necessarily kind to the African American actress.
Right. The texture, and I noticed the texture that you use in not only the foreground but the background. How were you able to achieve that? It's very, very powerful.
Well, I do a lot of experimenting when I do a portrait or anything. The initial colors or whatever that I start out with are never the final colors.
Right.
And so that's basically, I will experiment and experiment until I get exactly what I want in that. So it's still acrylic paint, but it's just been applied in different colors and in different ways to get it like that. So she's, because for her, I didn't feel like just a simple background is enough. She really, I wanted her to stand out and be the person that she really is, in my opinion.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Fantastic.
Okay.
All right, and your last piece. Look at this, the dark and light here.
My last piece is called The Sunsetters, and it's about, it's about the giraffes, but it's also about the African sky, at least as I interpret it. And what I have an affinity for doing pieces that do in some way relate to Africa, and this is just one of my first pieces. I like to do the landscapes as well. I've done the baobab tree, and I've done, so basically this is just a study in, doing animals and so forth. But that's basically, this is about the African sunset and giraffes, and it's just called The Sunsetters. It's just a piece for enjoyment and reflection.
The power of that light, that extreme light, the yellows that you have, and of course extreme darks, black, the silhouettes. Tell us about how effective that can be when you're doing artwork that play on light and dark.
Well, I found it to be very effective, and that's partially why I do that. I do pieces like that, fairly often because of that, and because of the fact that I do like the light and dark context in the pictures, and sometimes it's just a part of the learning process to see what looks and what works. And a lot of times when I do my work, I try to see what works, because when you're new and you're learning, you don't always get exactly what you want, so you just keep trying.
Right.
And that's what that's all about.
Right.
Yeah.
Out of all the pieces that you've shared with us, what's your favorite piece, the one that really, kind of got it going for you?
Well, I think the first piece, The Lady with the Story, that would have to be one of my favorite pieces, because I did that piece somewhat in tribute to the African American woman as well. It's not just and our history, and that is one of my favorite pieces, and it's also sort of like a first portrait piece,
right.
And that's why I like it. And I did learn a lot with colors and light and dark, as you say. So that's what that is my favorite piece, because that is my that's the piece that said to me, this is where you are. Mm-hmm.
Well, I tell you what, for that to be a first piece, I think you nailed it.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Jeanette. We'll be right back. Artist to Artist.
Okay.
Welcome back to Artist to Artist. We've been having a lot of fun today with artist Jeanette Barnett, and she has just shown us her wonderful, wonderful work. Jeanette, thank you again for coming out and sharing your work. I want to talk about your group affiliation. You've got a wonderful group that's housed at the Hammond House in Atlanta. Tell us a little bit about that group and the experience being a part of that.
Okay, I am more than happy to talk about AFTA, which is African American for the Arts. And we meet the first Tuesday of every month at the Hammond House at 6 o'clock. And basically what we do, of course, we always have the business part where we talk about what our plans are, if we have shows upcoming. We always have someone who presents there's some sort of presentation. It can be an art presentation, it can be a business presentation, and we also, we just basically kind of catch up with what's going on. And it's a good way for a new artist, especially such as myself. And the good part about it is when you first join after, at each meeting they say, you introduce yourself and you say what your medium is. And I thought, when they came to me and I says, well, I'm Jeanette Barnett and I'm a visual artist. And that was, nobody said, are you sure? Do you mean it? Or what? It was the acceptance that this is what you say you are, so therefore that must be what you are. And it's a very, it's a group that does a lot. I've had some shows basically through that group, and I've made some wonderful contacts. And we also have our page, that you can go to if you want to see more about the group. And I just think it has really been a wonderful opportunity for me to be a part of AFTA. And I think really they can benefit anybody, because it doesn't matter. You can be a performing artist or whatever you do, as long as you consider yourself an artist, you can join and be a part of the group.
Fantastic.
So,
it must be wonderful being around a lot of creative beings like yourself.
It is. But the best part about it, I think, though, is that as a new person, it kind of helps you find your way in the art world. Yes. It really does, because once you get all of this, this ambition and this ability as you learn, then what do you do with it? Right. How do you get yourself out there for people to know that you are an artist? And I've had some good experiences with that.
Absolutely.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Yeah. Tell us about some of your future goals. I know there's some other things that you want to do with art. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm working on some collages now.
Oh.
And I'm also working on trying to do bigger pieces.
Okay.
And I find that somewhat of a challenge. But that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to expand to bigger pieces and developing certain themes that I would like to pursue. There's certain influences on my life that I would like to reflect in my art.
Okay.
I have to give it some thought and say, well, how would I present an idea? And that's what I'm doing now.
Okay,
So,
fantastic.
Yeah.
So tell us, how do we see you? Are you Facebook?
Well, I'm on Facebook,
Yes.
and I can be messaged. You can reach me through Messenger
Yes.
on Facebook, and I'm also in the process of trying to develop a web page, and also basically just to navigate the social media,
Right.
because you do have to figure out what's going to work best for you
Right.
as an artist.
That is
so
a challenge.
that has been a challenge. You're technically challenged, and then you're trying to, so that's what I've been working on. Is okay, how can I best present my art to people,
Right.
who would want it to see it and purchase it or whatever. So that's really what I'm working on. But I'm basically still just enjoying learning about art, and I'm thinking of some other aspects of it that I might pursue.
Fantastic.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Jeanette, again, I want to thank you for joining us here today at Artist to Artist.
Mm-hmm.
Your work is incredible, and we look forward to seeing more of you.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys, I know you've really enjoyed this show, and we will definitely see you back the next time on Artist to Artist.
Thank you for having me.
You're very, very
I've
welcome.
enjoyed it so much. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome.
Thank you.